Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
The Godless Spell Check Our Christmas podcast!
Hello again, welcome to episode 5. Joining me now, I have the infidels from the Bible Reloaded podcast. We have Hugo.
Hello.
And Jake.
Hi there.
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Good. Congratulations on the podcasting, by the way. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Well,
I
thank
like to
you.
be.
If we're gonna be total sluts about this, anyone listening can watch us at YouTube, The Bible Reloaded.
BibleReloaded.com will take you to our YouTube page where we do atheist Bible study. We make fun of Christian evangelical pamphlets. We do some Christian television programming that we make fun of. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yep.
I've been hooked on it all week, pretty much. I think I was listening to the laws that Christians like to ignore episode.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, no, I had my earphones, and I think I was in the break room at work, and I'm like laughing away to myself, and someone's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, slavery."
That's pretty accurate.
So cheers. Yeah, so
Thank you.
I've got you two genuine, authentic Americans on.
Oh, we're so American.
Look at how American we are. We have guns and
Pew, pew.
and poor health care.
Yeah.
You know,
Pet eagle.
all that good stuff.
A pet eagle. We eat bald eagles. That's how American we are, because no one can tell us what not to eat.
Can't trample on our freedoms.
America. Okay, well, I was going to ask you a little bit about the Constitution, and specifically the First Amendment, and how that translates into church and state, and why no one seems to understand it.
It's actually a pretty complicated issue. Just as a basic thing, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm going to go ahead and read the Establishment Clause out, which is basically the part of the First Amendment of the Constitution that brings the whole contention over the church-state thing. So, hold on, let me just pull that up and I'll read it.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So basically, the first part, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment or religion, means they can't favor any religion over another at all.
Yeah, it's not just about not establishing basically countrywide religion, it's about not favoring one over the other. The government, basically, according to the Constitution, has to be secular.
So, basically, we're talking government property, schools.
Yep, anything publicly funded, basically, has to abide by that rule. That went pretty much unquestioned for a very long time, because most people in the country were very hard religious for a long time. But then people started to see more issues with it, because in public schools in the 20th century, when religion was still kind of being taught in public schools, then it started to be questioned, like, hey, we probably shouldn't do this. Not everyone's Christian. Then there was a case, Lemon versus Kurtzman in 71, and that basically established a 3-part test for determining if something is a violation of that amendment.
Okay, so what we're seeing in recent years is, since there's more atheist, secularists, and just people who are religious and don't tend to care for the rituals so much, they're sort of coming out of the woodwork and challenging the establishments more than they have in the past.
Yeah, definitely. You see, I don't want to say a pushback, because I feel like the pushback is far more than what's actually happening. You see, like, on Fox News, their coverage of the war on Christmas, like...
And then they have Silverman on every year to argue with Bill O'Reilly for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Get talked over by Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Is he ever not angry? I've never seen him. I've never looked at Bill O'Reilly and been like, you know, he seems like a really, really cool, reasonable, calm dude.
Yeah.
He looks like he's constantly about to have a heart attack. Like, I don't...
I absolutely love the war on Christmas. I look forward to it almost as much as Christmas, I think. There's no real equivalent in the UK. It's sort of, no one cares.
I don't know. I don't know anyone that cares personally, really, but it seems to be a thing that they want to make people care about. I don't get
There's
it.
this weird... There are 2 complaints that I see in the Christmas season. One, from people extremely right-wing let's say in the Fox News sphere, that say there's a war on Christmas, and then most other people who say, wow, Christmas has gotten way out of hand, there's too much fucking Christmas.
Yeah.
Because Christmas starts basically like the day after Halloween at this point in the States. I'm not even fucking kidding. That's when the decorations come out. It's ridiculous.
People put up their pagan evergreens the night of Halloween, it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of difficult to get people to understand secularism as a sort of push for fairness rather than a promotion of anti-theism or atheism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really don't understand the connection some people draw between atheism and secularism. There's a difference. You can be secular and be hard Christian. Like, you can. It's just about keeping it out of the public sector. Religion, I think, I'm cool with everyone having whatever religion they want, although I don't agree with it. It's just that it needs to stay out of public sector because that's not how the government is supposed to be run.
Right, and for an example, I can't remember his name, but at the Secular Student Alliance conference we went to back in July, which is a big atheist convention, basically, they actually had a Christian speaker who was a lawyer who fought for secular laws, and he fought really hard. And he was the only Christian speaker at the event, but he was so passionate. He was more passionate about secularism than most of us were.
Yeah.
Just because I think he's in the pit more often than we are, and he sees the kind of shit people try to get away with.
Yeah.
Is he not making Jesus cry?
Maybe, but he's making the Constitution proud.
America.
Freedom boner.
Okay, I think it's the case of, I think Christianity's had the monopoly and the privilege so long. Any sort of challenge to any sort of effort to change that comes across as hostile and aggressive, however, sort of mild.
Oh yeah, and then they're like, well, this is a Christian nation, and I'm a history major, so I take kind of exception with that because it's not even a little bit a Christian nation. Like, that wasn't even, like, the thing. Like, most of the founding fathers were deists, so they basically thought God created the universe and then was like, all right, you guys deal with this. I'm going to go, like, I don't know.
Haagen-Dazs it?
Yeah, I'm going to go eat some
Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs, watch some Project Runway for, like, an eternity.
Yeah.
And just kind of hang out.
I believe that's exactly what the founding fathers believed. That is directly what they believed. You can put me on record as that. But the idea is this is not a Christian nation. If it were, then in the Constitution it would say so. It would say there are no allusions to the Bible in the Constitution other than things maybe like all men are created equal. You could argue maybe the created is a reference to the Bible. There are no overt references to biblical text or Jesus or anything. It's very clear that it's separation of church and state, and that's born out of the issues that were in England that the founding fathers didn't want to deal with. You have the Church of England versus Catholicism battling all throughout European history. I can't imagine you want that kind of thing to happen in the States. They took into mind saying, we don't want to involve religious problems in our government. They're separate, end of story.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jefferson clarified the wall of separation a little bit with the First Amendment, didn't he?
Yeah, he even wrote his own Bible without all the miracles and stuff, because he's a badass like that.
Yeah.
And also, like, even Adams, as president, when he signed the Treaty of Tripoli, it says in Article 11 of it that, quite plainly, as the government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, blah, 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 basically, like, hey, we're not going to be mad at Muslims, but...
that fell apart real quick, like 200 years.
Yeah, he's like, fuck treaties.
How high is the religiosity in your state? Do you both live in the same state?
Yep, we live in Michigan. It's pretty high.
It really depends on where you go. We're a blue state, which I don't know how much you know about American politics, but that's like a Democrat state, so more of a progressive state. But in part, that's because of unions. Other than that, we're a pretty rural area, so there are certain sections that become pretty...
a lot of camo.
Yeah, a lot of
camo, a lot of
hunting and meat and God, basically. So yeah, there are parts that are definitely religious. But it's definitely not the Deep South, though. It's not the South, so it's not too bad.
Most of the people that I have classes with at university are pretty progressive as well, and I've met several atheists, even coming out of high school and stuff, just in the community. So I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag. But I'd say we're in the clear minority. I mean, I think that goes for almost every state.
What's a typical Christmas day for you guys, and what do you get up to?
I love Christmas. Here's the thing. My parents cannot understand how much I love Christmas because I'm an atheist. Every year when Christmas is coming, they refuse to celebrate Christmas with me because I'm an atheist until the day of. Then they're like, "Yeah, come over and do Christmas." But they just cannot understand why I like it. I just like it. Christmas is fun.
I like it too. I don't like the build up to it. It's kind of like the presidential race in a sense because it lasts for it seems like it's like 8 months of Christmas is coming, and then you finally get there, and it's a really good day. I like hanging out with my family, and my favorite part is getting people presents because I don't know, I'm cute like that, I suppose. But
what did you get me last year? I don't remember. You got me a big bag of mozzarella sticks. That was the tits. You should do that again.
So basically, the gift giving's the big thing for you.
Yeah, I like it. Also, food.
Yeah,
obviously.
I like the feeling of the season. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Everyone seems happier. I love Christmas specials. I like winter. It's just nice. There's lights. Everyone's just happy. It's nice. Yeah. I think it's a good time to reflect on the fact that we're all people, and there are all these people around the world celebrating this holiday. Not all around the world, obviously, but a lot of people. And it's a time to reflect. We're all people together, and we're just trying to enjoy our lives and do the best we can with what we have. Yeah. And we should all be grateful for each other. And that's what I take from it. But then again, that's obviously my secular take. Yeah.
And I was brought up pretty secularly anyways. I don't know if that was intentional or not by my parents. I guess I've never really asked them. But my mom did try to read the Bible one time to me and my brother when we were I don't know, probably 11 and 14. We're sitting there, and she starts reading it. And granted, she knows nothing about religion. She's probably just called my uncle, who's very religious, like, "Hey, what should I read the kids?" And she starts reading, and we both look at her and we go, "Mom, what are you doing?"
The Bible as a text on its own, it's the most, especially as a kid, it's one of the most boring things. And that's why, when I was, there was all these conscious efforts to try and be an evangelistic with sort of, youth groups with rappers and, Jesus you all, to try and bring it to the kids, because in itself, the innate word of God is so fucking dull.
Oh, absolutely.
I know. I saw a thing the other day. It might have even been yesterday. I don't know if it was real or not, but it was hilarious. It was a picture of a church, and it was for a youth group, and it was, "Are you emo enough for Jesus?" I don't know what that means. Jesus, I guess, kind of liked to cut himself. He was just pretty bloody in the end, but I don't think that really is a connection you would normally draw, but
or
whatever.
Want to make. Yeah. I also like how they try to make stories like David and Goliath cool, or like Noah's Ark. Look at how epic this was. Now we're going to make a movie with the guy who was in Gladiator.
The guy who ruined Les Mis.
I think the best part was where all the people come out of the woods, and they're like, "Noah, fuck you for making this boat." And he's like, "Hey, no, I'm going to build this boat." And he's like, "You are alone. You can't do it." And then they zoom in on his face, and he goes, "I'm not alone." And then it goes, and then there's water everywhere. That's the best edit in a trailer I've seen in years.
I like the part where they're all standing at the edge, "Storm the Ark!" They're all going to attack the Ark.
That doesn't happen in the book at all?
Yeah, there seems to be this weird, in, let's say, the spoken version, the children's book version, that the neighbors and stuff of Noah were like, "Hey, you're crazy, what are you doing?" Never mentioned in the book. Never mentions anyone who's disagrees with Noah. For all we know, in the story it's supposed to be "Hey, good job, Noah."
Yeah. Also the amounts of animals.
Very few mentions to marsupials and dinosaurs, surprisingly absent.
Hardly any.
Yeah.
1 velociraptor reference, 3 dragons.
Clever girls.
You had the accent to pull that off and
Shoot
everything.
her!
Shoot! My God.
That's for the people listening who don't know, that's Jurassic Park reference that we're making.
I don't want to live in a world where people don't get a Jurassic Park reference.
No, they are undesirables and should be burned.
Is there anything that pisses you off about Christmas or really annoys you?
My only other thing that pisses me off about Christmas is exactly what we're talking about. The imaginary war on Christmas. The war that no one's fighting, the people defending it.
I may have to make a little war on Christmas jingle with just sleighs and then explosions, a few gunshots.
Yeah.
And someone just going, Jesus, no! That's how I'm spending the rest of my evening, I've decided.
War on Christmas.
Jesus, no!
I've spent evenings doing worse things.
Have you both got a preferred Christmas or holiday movie?
Die Hard.
Die Hard. That is a good Christmas movie.
Die Hard takes place on Christmas. It ends on a Christmas song. He wears a Santa hat when he kills someone. Christmas movie.
You know, you've just won the podcast because that's my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Holiday cheer and fucking murdering of terrorists. They're not even terrorists. They're bank robbers.
They're like angry Frenchmen, aren't they?
Alan Rickman is your German.
Yeah. Oh, German, whatever.
Shoots the glass.
You should just do movie quotes for a whole podcast.
I'd watch that.
Just out of context.
Okay, so how old were you when you sort of stopped believing in Santa?
I have a story for this,
Ooh, I don't,
which
but...
pisses me off. Okay, so I was actually raised in a religious house and went to a religious school when I was younger. So I think in like second, maybe third grade, I was in class, a very religious school in the fact that like women couldn't wear pants and stuff. It was like hardcore. Anyway, so the same people who were telling me that Jesus became a zombie and rose from the dead were the ones who told me Santa Claus was not real.
Wow.
Yeah, my teacher, I don't know why, but let it slip to me that, yeah, Santa isn't real. I was pissed off. I hear
a lot of people, of Christian parents especially, have a lot of anxiety about telling children about Santa because they feel that maybe the penny will drop with Jesus as well.
If I had kids, I don't think I'd do the Santa thing. I mean, I
might when they were really little, I don't know.
I'm cool with people doing it, I get it. I just don't think I'd want to do it. I'd feel weird lying to my kid about something like that, even if, I get it's in the spirit of fun. I'm not saying it's like detrimental necessarily. I just don't want to harbor like supernatural thing. I know that sounds so petty, but I don't want to start my kids off believing something like weirdly supernatural like that. And yes, it's fun, I get it, and that's the hard thing. I'm sure it would be fun, but I'd just feel weird doing it. It'd feel almost hypocritical.
I think the thing is, though, you don't want your kid to be the kid that all the parents get mad at you about.
I know.
Because they're like, your kid doesn't believe in Santa, and now all these kids have been exposed to the truth, and now they're all crying, and we got to deal with that this year.
It's a good point, though. I mean, if you remove the supernatural element and Santa, do you think that's going to take anything away from the Christmas experience if the kid's still getting his new PlayStation or his new bike or whatever? I think you could get away with that.
I think it only matters in a peer-to-peer situation when they're at school or hanging out with friends in whatever setting. And that's kind of where it translates over to how it becomes for young atheists as well. Like, they just don't share in a similar experience with people. For example, in the South, I know for a fact one of the first things people ask you is, oh, what's your name? Also, what church do you go to? It's very similar to that. Like, I can't share in this experience that everyone's having.
I mean, I suppose you've got to think there's probably children already in this situation. You talk about young Jewish kids, young Muslim kids.
Oh, yeah.
I hate using the phrase Jewish kid and Muslim kid, but for want of a better expression, children of Muslim and Jewish parents is what I meant to say.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, so there must be a certain sense of alienation for those guys at school when the kids are coming in talking about Santa. Unless maybe, I think possibly some people adopt these cultural traditions.
Actually, in Michigan, we have the largest Muslim population in the States, down in Dearborn. I don't know any Muslims, or I don't really know any people that practice Islam in the area that I can think of.
I don't really either. They just built a pretty big mosque.
That people got mad about.
Which, I don't know why people get mad. It's, okay, so they built a mosque right across from a huge church. And some people got mad about the mosque. It's like, they're basically the same thing. It's a cool looking building, though. As much as, obviously I'm not religious, but I love looking at, like, how religion inspires architecture and how all the...
cathedrals are neat, too.
The geometric stuff in the mosques, since they can't do imagery of beings. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for religious architecture. There is times that I do have to visit churches and things for christenings and weddings and things like that. And I think people expect me to burst into flames or start making a scene or something. But they're quite peaceful places. If you can cut out all the religious people, they're quite pleasant.
Churches without any of the religious people would make excellent high-end lofts.
Yeah, we've got a group in England now. I think they may actually be branching out to the States, but they're holding sort of like a Church of Atheism thing, which annoys me a bit because it's conflating the issues. But
Yeah.
They're using an old deconsecrated church as their place of meeting for sort of a humanistic comedy group. So all the media are running with it now with, this is a new church of atheism, and I'm seeing it on Twitter a lot, that atheism is becoming a religion, but I think it's just poor choice of venue, perhaps.
Well, in America, we get tax exempt if we're a religion, so super.
Yeah.
Here's my thought on the atheist churches thing, because there have been some popping up in the States, too.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't go to one, and I don't necessarily see the value for myself, but I can certainly understand the community value that people get out of it, because especially people coming out of religion from a strong-knit, church community, they want that still when they come out of it and decide, I don't believe anymore. So I can understand the support system aspect. It's just not for me. But, more power to them. I get it. That's cool.
And I've heard more about them popping up in the South than up here.
Which certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, anyone who's coming out of religion would want that tight-knit community. And, a lot of people go to church not because of the Jesus part, but they go to see their friends and, hang out with people that they know, and then also to,
commune and...
commune, whatever you guys do.
A church can often be the hub of a town. If you'd want to stay in the know, I think religion's probably got a bit of a head start in that sense.
And I think that's why it's blowing up on the internet so much, the atheist community, because a lot of us are separated by quite a distance. I mean, obviously we're talking over quite a large body of water at this moment, so we can't hang out today, but we can talk and have a conversation, and then we can you can tweet each other, we can chat, and we can bitch about the same things that are, everyone gets pissed off about the same things. It's just a good way to vent, and I think that's a bonus for the atheist churches, even though I also wouldn't want to partake. Some people just kind of need that connection with somebody else and that sense of belonging, I guess.
Going back to what you're saying about communication, there's a lot to be said about the internet and the part it's playing in sort of enlightening people and pulling them away from religion. I think, the average reasonable person could probably come out an atheist after 10 minutes on Wikipedia if they give it some honesty.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of why when we do the show, we didn't approach it as a scholarly debate style philosophical breakdown of the biblical text. We went at it with comedy, and if you take it down off its pedestal, it makes it accessible, and because of that, we've deconverted a handful of people, and we have several Christian followers and subscriptions that watch the show and really like it. Now, it's by no means are they a majority or even close to 2% of our audience, but at the same time, it's just neat to have people that should disagree with us enjoying the show because of the way we approach it.
I think comedy is absolutely magnificent. I think it's vital in sort of demystifying religion. I think it's almost the equivalent of pulling the trousers of the bully down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think once you've got the religion bent over your knee in that sense, there's sort of no coming back from it. Once you can mock and ridicule and deconstruct something, it's lost, I think. I mean, the fact that you can openly do that, you've already won. It'd take a few more balls with doing it with the Quran, I would imagine. That might be a no-go area for a while. That's
actually the plan after we're done with the Bible.
We're doing the Quran reloaded. Hopefully we don't die.
Okay, well, if you make it to 2 episodes, I'll send some donations your way.
They're gonna be so mad.
Yeah, that's the thing. You often hear people like Sam Harris talk about the critique of religion, and sometimes has ideas, and he always says, this is probably the thing that'll get me killed if I do it. Yeah. It's always related to Islam. It's just the mention of it's produced some kind of somber atmosphere all of a sudden. Can you feel that? Can you feel that?
A little bit. Yeah,
that's the Islambience.
Ooh.
That's funny.
Islambians. I feel bad because I know that there's people that practice the Islam faith that are nice people and are genuine.
Yeah,
but it's just that those extremists are so fucking extreme that it negates it.
Yeah.
So people, I think Islamophobia is a real thing. I don't necessarily have it. I might when we do the Quran Reloaded though. Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping that works out.
Yeah.
But I imagine the death threats are going to get overwhelming at one point.
But, how are they going to find us, really? It's just the internet. It's not like, there's a data trail.
It'd be okay. Well, it wouldn't be okay, but it'd be a little bit better if it was just that you had to worry about. But it's the reaction elsewhere and how it harms other people as well. It seems to just spread in several different directions and never seems focused on the actual source, which is a little bit worrying. I mean, you look at the Innocent of Muslims video on YouTube. Yeah, give the Quran Reloaded a miss is my advice. just carry on with what I mean. You've got plenty to work with for now, surely.
Oh yeah, that'll be years down the road. Maybe I'll be president by then. So
that'd be interesting. That's another question I want to ask you as well. I often hear Dawkins try and claim Obama as an atheist. Now, I'd like that to be true, but everything else tells me that's not true.
I don't think he's an atheist, but I don't think he's a, quote, true believing Christian either.
yeah, I think he's kind of more of the deistic kind of like, and he seems like a rational guy, but I don't think that he's willing to take the step.
I think he's a Christian culturally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he does it as, because he goes to church because that's what presidents do, and, But that's just me. That's just speculation, you know what I mean? You really can never tell that sort of thing.
So, back to Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best Christmas present you've ever had?
Oh, man. My very first bike was a Batman bike.
Oh, that's amazing.
I feel like I had a Batman cape as well, like pajamas. I distinctly remember getting on the bike Christmas morning and the snow had just melted. And I had a kind of a roundabout driveway thing going on, so I had a circle to drive around, and I was doing that, and I feel like I remember wearing a cape, but I could just be making that up. But yeah, so I had a Batman bike. That I know is true.
I don't know if you guys are even going to remember these, or if they were even a thing in the UK, but they're called sock'em boppers.
Oh, yes.
And they were basically big inflatable boxing gloves, and you could just punch the shit out of things, and it was glorious.
Yeah, they're basically just hand balloons.
Yeah, and then sometime after that, I fucking loved them, but I was really young, but I was a dumbass apparently, because I was like, what if I take a toothpick and poke this?
And you ruined your Christmas present?
I know, I was upset.
Who do you think could win in a fight between Jesus and Santa?
Ooh.
Where is the fight at?
Ooh, wow.
That's a good question. I'm gonna go with
The mouth of a volcano?
I'm gonna say the Mormons are right, and he's returned to the homeland.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, where do they think Garden of Eden was? Missouri.
Yeah, it's Missouri.
Okay, so let's say the fight happens in Missouri. Okay, let's assume Jesus. They both have superpowers technically. I'm gonna say. Oh, this is a tough one.
I'm gonna say Santa because he can call a legion of elves in, and they all have hammers already.
I'm gonna say Jesus because it's Missouri, so it's gonna be full of Bible-beating Christians who will literally beat Santa with Bibles to death.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep,
thanks for having us.
Anytime. See you later, man.
Thank you for listening. Make sure you click on subscribe. I think we've all learned something here today.
The Godless Spell Checker Christmas Podcast.
Congrats again. I mean, I'm going to keep listening, and I'll keep throwing your link out there because the people need to know.
Well, thank you.
And if you ever talk to Ricky again, hey, he might want to know about us.
He's coming round for dinner at weekend, so I'll mention it.
Wait, you're what?
He's coming round at weekend for dinner, so I'll pass that.
Wait, he's coming to your house for dinner, for real?
And the Queen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, never mind.
God Checker.
A selection of Santas.
This jovial Christmas figure is familiar to us all. From his home at the North Pole, Santa consults his modern oracles to see who has been naughty or nice. Must be a whole lot easier these days when he can just check Facebook. The legend of Santa is a wonderful example of mythological evolution. He is a Frankenstein's mishmash of myths, from ancient legends of mysterious winter goats to fleeting glimpses of Norse gods hunting across the sky. Almost every country has contributed a snippet to Santa's DNA, and all have their own take on his myth. You might have heard the evil rumour that Santa Claus is really a creation of the Coca-Cola Company. This is a lie, but it's true that our modern image of Santa comes straight out of old Coca-Cola Christmas adverts. These were created by one Haddon Sundblom, who based his designs upon Finnish folklore. In Finland, the traditional winter figure is Joulupukki, the Yule goat. He seems to be a seasonal remix of Woden, the top god of the Germanic pantheon, who was in the habit of riding his trusty goats across the sky. As you do. Unlike his Americanized equivalent, Joulupukki does not fly, as Finnish reindeer prefer their feet firmly on the frozen ground. Also, he knocks politely on the door and doesn't get involved with all that furtive nonsense with chimneys. Another big influence, as the modern Santa evolved, was the Dutch Sinterklaas, an interpretation of Old St. Nicholas with some rather unusual twists. For one thing, he had the bright idea to call Spain his home rather than the frozen North Pole. And instead of a legion of gnomes under his command, Sinterklaas has the sinister Zwart Pietin. Black Peters, as they are known, originated as Oompa Loompa-like assistants. But, by the early 20th century, they had become something of a racist caricature, with a role reminiscent of Krampus, the terrifying monster who stole naughty children. That idea has largely been excised in today's culturally sensitive times. Nowadays, the black faces are cunningly explained away as chimney soot. Such mythological rewriting is as old as the hills. Why not leave out a mince pie this Yuletide, in recognition of one of the oldest and most mixed up myths humanity has?
God Checker.